People told me I couldn't do a lot of things.
I feel like I'm the chosen one.
Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. All we are is proud and passionate. I love Toronto. I love this team. And we're going to the NBA Finals.
Nothing matters but winning.
Welcome back to episode 39 of Rapzville Weekly. I'm your co-host, Gabriel Chelio, alongside
Adam Kasuchi.
And today we are doing our Week 12 recap, talking about the NBA Finals. This one, to spoil it, is going to be called Lakers Win the 2020 NBA Championship. So what happened here was it was a rough start for the Heat. Not going to lie, I wanted the Heat to win. I was supporting them throughout this playoff series once the Raptors were out because they've been playing great basketball. It's been a pleasure to watch them. They are just such a solid team and an interesting play style, and I don't really want the Lakers to win because they were obviously the favorites. So I was rooting for them, but the first half looked really sloppy. The Heat couldn't get shots to fall, and the Lakers were dominant. And the Heat, they absolutely fell apart in the second quarter. They were outscored 36-16 in that quarter, which means they ended the half at 64-36. In an elimination game of the NBA Finals, the Heat only scored 36 points by half, down nearly 30. Not only is it a bad scoring night for them, shooting-wise, but obviously that's a testament to the Lakers' strong defense and the Heat's inability to make shots. Everything that could go wrong this game, was going wrong, especially in the first half. Bam looked like he was completely disoriented in the first half. He only had 5 points, 2 for 5 shooting. However, he did end up with 25. Second half had a huge explosion, 25 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 10 for 15 shooting. But that start was really rough. That bounce back, it got him back from that sluggish start. And I think part of it was playing a little bit with Dragic on the floor. Dragic knows how to help Bam get the looks he wants, toss him some alley-oops. They have really good chemistry together, and that helped him out a little bit. Hero, even worse first half, 2 points, 1 for 5 shooting, 3 turnovers. Horrible from him, especially from having such a solid, other games in this series. The Lakers themselves, I know Jared Dudley, he was on the Bill Simmons podcast, and he mentioned how in one of those games, like everything that Tyler Hero threw up looked like it was going in, and he was just playing amazing. But eventually, the Lakers team, they knew he had to come back down to earth. He is a rookie in an NBA Finals, and you saw he had a really, really bad performance. He ended the night with 7 points on 3 for 10 shooting. Butler and Crowder, they were decent. They had some individual runs. Even in the second quarter, Crowder had a couple of runs. He had to get a 3-pointer and 2 layups, like a couple back-to-back plays. But they were still pretty quiet compared to last game. Butler specifically, he ended with 12 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists on 5 for 10 shooting. Crowder ended with 12 points on 3 for 9 shooting. So no one really stood out for them. Dragic provided a little bit of rest for Jimmy. He did play this game, which we've all been waiting for. And we thought that, him coming back, he was the top scorer for Miami going into this series. And we expect a little bit from him, but he was injured. Coming back from an injury, he wasn't playing at full percentage. You could tell his shooting was horrible. He ended with 2 for 8 shooting, 5 points, but he did have 5 assists. The one thing that his presence provided was Jimmy could take some time on the bench to rest because he did have, such a tough series playing tons of minutes, 45 plus minutes a night. So he was able to rest, and Dragic was able to run the offense. That was one good thing that came out of that. Finally, Duncan Robinson, out of the main cast, him being one of the final ones, he had a subpar night, 10 points on 3 for 8 shooting, a couple threes, but that's it. And the Heat, 5 for 12 from free throws in the first half. Usually that's a strong point for them, especially this playoffs. But obviously 5 for 12 free throws, they missed a lot, and that builds up over time. And they were 35% from the field at half. So, if the jump shots aren't falling, they need to make their free throws, and they couldn't even do that. And in the rebounding difference at half, it was 29-18 and 34 versus 16 for points in the paint, and also 14 second chance points for the Lakers. So the Lakers were just clearly dominant. And, the big men were obviously dominant here on the glass and putbacks, being in the paint. LeBron and Davis, they clearly cooked.
Okay. So, LeBron James, moving on to Lakers side, LeBron James has had more time to relax this game because of the huge lead and some of the rest he has been receiving. So it was crucial that he got that rest and then was fully energized to play late in that fourth quarter to get the job done for the Lakers, and that was big. Having a lead, it gives you some comfort and some breathing room, which gave Frank Vogel that space to do so. They have rotated playing time, LeBron and Davis a little, keeping one star on the floor at a time. I think that's another big point that Frank Vogel emphasized is that they need to have one star on the floor at all times.
Yeah.
When they do have both of them off, usually Rondo is on the floor trying to orchestrate things and being the floor general, but usually one superstar is always on the floor to kind of even out and neutralize Miami Heat's scoring ability. However, LeBron still had near triple-double stats at half. He ended with 28 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists. That's such a huge performance from LeBron James in such a big game. Game 6 of the NBA Finals. His legacy is really on the line here. He knows it's his chance to win another ring, and his career is coming down to an end. Well, I don't know about an end because he just gets better with age, but for sure in the later years of his career. And it was such a crazy performance. 28 points, almost a 30-point triple-double in such a big game. And a lot of people say he chokes under pressure, which this certainly isn't the case. And he got the job done with support of his teammates. Obviously, Rondo with an explosion in the first half off the bench. He ended with 13 points on 6 for 6 shooting. No, he ended with 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists on 8 for 11. But he had a great first half. 6 for 6 shooting, so it was great for him to kind of come out in a big game like this. Obviously, people know him as such an experienced player, knows what to do, makes the winning plays, as Gabe always emphasizes whenever we're talking about Rondo. His IQ, either it be a steal or some type of play, passing play, or whatever it is, he gets the job done. And Rondo was huge in this one. Davis was abusing his size on the inside with 2 blocks and some offensive boards in the second quarter. Ended with 19 points and 15 boards. So a big performance from Davis. They needed that. It wasn't a spectacular one, but enough to get the job done. Very efficient. And he played well. He rebounds the ball, does what he needs to do defensively. He alters a lot of shots, and that's what I've noticed when watching Anthony Davis. He doesn't block too many, but when he doesn't get the block, he for sure alters the shot and makes it more difficult for the offensive player to score the basketball. Moving on to KCP, being a huge scoring threat, 2 threes in the second quarter, and an extremely tough one-handed floater. He ended with 15 points at half, and he ended with 17. So he had an extremely good first half, and kind of got the rhythms flowing. The energy was great with him, obviously starting, and he kind of works well with for sure with LeBron in that pick and roll when they start double teaming LeBron and he has KCP open. Him and Danny Green really work good with that play, and he hit his shots, and that was the end of the story. He drove it to the rack a couple of times, and it was good to see him explode and show his how valuable he is to the team. Looking at Kuzma, Caruso, and Morris's performance, starting with Kuzma, he had an average game. Didn't do too much, but hit the shots when he needed to, and played pretty good defense. Caruso, Gabe, I know you're not a big fan of him, but I thought he had a good game. He's really good at understanding the defensive rotations and understanding his role in the team. And he hit some big shots in this game, and he's not scared of anyone. Will drive to the rim and try to make contact, draw a foul, or do whatever he can to help the team. And that's important to have on such a good team. Markeith Morris, usually he's a wild card in other series, usually and before in his career, but he really was consistent for the Lakers in this series, apart from his late game mistake. He was great. He made his shots when he was open, and more than not, and he played pretty good defense, challenging Butler sometimes to make difficult shots, which he did make, but Morris played great defense. The Heat cut down the lead in the second half, but that's because the Lakers knew it was over. Obviously, I think the Lakers didn't take their foot off the gas, but for sure lightened up their intensity. And the Heat wanted to make one last push at trying to win the game, and it didn't get it done. The team stats got closer by the end of the game, but the Lakers still led in most of the main categories. So up 36 points in a finals game says enough about the Lakers' performance tonight. They were able to get it done in 6, obviously, 106-93 as the final score. Some achievements after the game being won, LeBron has received his 4th Finals MVP, which is crazy, and it puts him up there with the greats Kobe and Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. First player to earn the honor with 3 different teams, so doing it in different teams, not with the same players, having to adjust, different rotational players as well, and that just shows how smart he is and his IQ for the game. And it's his 4th ring. He has one.
Yep, he had a huge performance, this series, the playoffs in general. He definitely wanted to close it out tonight, especially because he wasn't able to get it done back in Game 5. And like you said, being able to do it in different teams, that's something special. Different cast every time, different organizations, the way it's run, different every time. And his job is to adapt to that, make others around him great, and he's able to do it. 3 different teams, 4 Finals MVPs. That's obviously up with the top company, and his 4th ring is fantastic. Now he's got 10 final appearances, only 3 other people with that amount, obviously. You got Kareem, Bill Russell, and Sam Jones. So, he's up with the best company and everything. NBA Finals milestones, this guy's through the roof. He's 1st on total triple-doubles, 2nd on total points, 2nd on total three-pointers, 2nd on steals, 2nd on assists, 2nd on field goals made, 4th in rebounding. You get the gist of it. NBA playoffs, he's the 1st in games played. He passed Derek Fisher, so he's been in so many playoffs games, so many performances. He's leading every category now. He is cementing his place in history, his legacy. It's just been, dominant for this whole decade, really. He's just been a force to be reckoned with, and I think it's fantastic. Winning a championship, obviously, not many players have even done that with 3 different teams, let alone the Finals MVPs. Only 4 players have done it with 3 different teams, one of them being Danny Green.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pressure he's had to overcome while winning these championships, I felt that's a huge factor when looking at the GOAT debate or just saying how important he was to this team. He does it under pressure throughout his career, and he takes so much hate, and I think he just throws it to the side and just focuses on basketball, which is so important. And he's done a great job. He does a great job preparing for games. They said that Markeith Morris said before the game, LeBron would give the Lakers a pregame text to give them some motivation and to make sure they're ready for the game, which is, I think, important to show your role as a leader, especially in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, definitely one of the greatest to do it by far. His legacy on this game has been, truly fantastic, and you could see it game in and game out, the work that he puts in. I think it's cemented that he was one of the most hyped up players in NBA sports, and not even NBA, in sports history in general, coming out of high school, probably one of the most hyped up, most pressured, athletes in the world. And for someone that coming out of high school to have that much pressure to already be like, is he going to be the greatest player of all time? The amount of pressure on such a young kid is just unreal. And for him to be able to do it from that young, since his first year in the league, already averaging 20 points a game, every year after 25 plus, is just remarkable. He had all that pressure every year, and he was able to still get to 10 NBA Finals. I think it's just remarkable. We know that the players, they recognize his greatness, how good it is to play with him. Even if you got guys in the team, Jared Dudley said it on the podcast, even him, he's a Jordan guy. He loves Jordan. He thinks Jordan's his greatest player, but he recognizes that being with LeBron is just a different thing because LeBron does it all, and he helps him out so much. And I think his greatness has just been unreal to watch because it's lasted for so long. He's played way more games than Mike, more minutes. He's just lasted his career a lot longer, and he's continuing to do it. Year 17, still putting up amazing numbers, arguably MVP in the regular season, and then winning Finals MVP. And it all comes down to just him being an amazing athlete. He takes care of his body tremendously. He has his own trainers. Dudley mentioned guys would stretch him out in the mornings. He'd have his own people to do that when he wakes up, before he goes to bed. He sleeps and goes into the oxygen chamber for recovery. He eats well. He does so much to take care of his body, and it shows because he's been able to leave a mark in the league for so long. I think it's just fantastic. Yeah,
for sure. He's cemented in there, like you said, for sure, in history. Moving on to Anthony Davis, the other superstar for the Lakers, winning his first ring, coming from New Orleans. Why do you think he was such a great duo with LeBron, with the Lakers here?
You saw him getting emotional when he won that championship, so clearly you know how much it means to him. And I think that LeBron's never really had such a dominant big man. He had Bosh, is probably his best, but It's not like he's not Kevin Love. No one's really like Davis, who's able to shoot the ball, be extremely aggressive on the inside, tall and huge length, phenomenal defensive ability, arguably defensive player of the year. I think that him being young and hungry helped push LeBron this year, and he was just a great play style to fit around LeBron, another superstar when LeBron was off the floor that could do it all, play, make, and score. And defend, obviously. And I even heard that Davis did a good job in pushing LeBron this year, because usually LeBron, he saves that ability for the offensive end to score and produce and play make, that he kind of just does a decent job in defense, but prefers not to overexert. And I heard that this year Davis did a great job at pushing LeBron forward, and he wanted to be the best defensive team in the league because he wanted to win Defensive Player of the Year. So he did a good job of, getting everyone involved and getting everyone to play their best basketball. So obviously phenomenal from him, and it's great that he was able to get his first NBA championship while also scoring the most points in the playoffs. So, he was the top scorer this year, so fantastic from him.
Yeah, you can kind of make the argument as well, Gabe, that Davis had as much as an impact to the Lakers as LeBron, because obviously of the points he scored, his defensive abilities, and also his efficiency when LeBron was fatigued and he didn't look like he had much energy, or he was winding down in some points of the game. They would just give it to Davis, and he would handle the isolation efficiently and score at a high rate, right? So it's important for Davis to step up in those times, and I think he did a great job of that.
Yeah, definitely in the offseason, he's been putting in work. You mentioned it. I think he was working with lethal shooter, you said, and you could see it, man. His shot was developed phenomenally from last year. That three ball, that mid-range, so consistent, leaning, contested. It wasn't a problem for him. He was making a lot of tough shots, and definitely a good improvement to his game. And, there's really no ceiling for this kid because he's just fantastic. He can do it all, and he can continue to improve. And once he improves that three-point percentage, now that he's, done a good job at making it a solid weapon, once he improves that, now people are going to have to start respecting that, and it'll open up his driving range, his mid-range game off the pump fakes and stuff. So he's a lot of room to grow.
Okay. This finals loss for the Miami Heat, how does this affect their franchise? With Spoelstra, obviously he's a legend there, a figure for all the players. He really emphasized Jimmy Butler and how players coming up in the NBA or in the draft should look at his game and look how great he is on both ends of the floor and try to copy his skills and abilities as best as they can. And I think that's a great model to have, and Spoelstra did a great job of trying to explain that. And how do you think the Heat will rebound back from this championship loss?
I think you have to give tons of respect to this organization for doing what seemed impossible for them. A lot of people did not think they would get this far. What was their title runs? I can't even remember the odds. Maybe like 16-1 or something like that. So no one thought they were making it this far, and you have to give respect to Spoelstra for coaching, Pat Riley for putting this team together, focusing on their star, Bam, getting him in that starting position and riding with him because they saw how great he was. They wanted to give him that role to let him flourish. Butler being this leader coming in this team where the mentality was something that he fit perfectly in, pretty much, of just extremely hardworking, and then getting guys around him that work. They played like a Golden State ball, kind of getting Robinson and Hero to play the Curry and Clay roles of coming off screens, being the shooters, handoffs. Like their play style was very modern and very interesting. Their defense, the zone was so effective on both ends of the floor. They were a pleasure to watch. They had many great players step up for them, whether it be none in the regular season and then Dragic in the playoffs. So you saw two guys, flip roles, but then when Dragic stepped down and was injured, none came right back up with his solid performance. Other guys being sparks once in a while. Kelly Olynyk had some solid nights. Obviously, Crowder's been consistent in that series. So those guys, they deserve their respect. I think they played great basketball, and they can definitely run it back. They did it once. They could keep doing it. The team is not really going to change from what I know. So if they did it once, there's a good chance that they can make it here again. It will obviously be difficult. Things worked in their favor a little bit this playoffs. We didn't get to verse them, sadly, but they're still a good team, and Pat Riley and Spoelstra, they did a great job of putting this team together and watching them flourish. And it's all about that mentality in Miami. A lot of people say it, that their franchise is really driven by hard work. They got fitness tests when you show up for a training camp, and you have to pass those in order to continue the season. they keep you organized and in line. And I think that franchise has just been solid for many years. Even when they were rebuilding, they never lasted long. They got to the point, they made their trades, they made their moves, and they got back to being playoff and even title contenders.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the experience was important for Bam, Hero, Robinson, and Nunn, especially the younger guys like that.
They got so many years to come, man. Robinson, Hero, and Adebayo. This is their second, third, or even rookie years in the league, and they're putting up fantastic numbers and are starters in a championship team. Like, come on, they got so much time to grow and be part of more playoff contending runs.
For sure. And I just kind of thought of this right now. It just kind of popped in my head. Obviously, Curry, Clay, and Draymond Green have been an amazing three. Top three trio in the NBA, obviously. But when looking at the Heat, do you see Hero, Robinson, and Bam Adebayo as like an emerging three somehow if they play well together, and they can maybe obviously not come up to their standard, but for sure make a stance, a great trio.
Yeah, they obviously have like work to do to get better on both ends, especially Duncan Robinson on like the defensive end, or Hero just being more consistent. He's very young, but they are definitely lining up to be a solid trio. And I mean, Jimmy Butler, he provides that veteran experience on Golden State. I don't really know you can match that too. I guess you have to give him the KD role, but like Iguodala's is more age match for like how young Curry and them were. But they have a solid team. They got good pieces. They have tons of times to grow. I want to go back to the Lakers for a second because I want to just mention some stuff about the other guys. We talked about Davis. We talked about LeBron. Some other guys I wanted to point out. Danny Green obviously didn't have the best series, playoffs, or regular season. He kind of just got there, but he did get his other championship. The fourth player, part of like that top four of guys that won it with three different teams. Obviously solid from him, and he did step up, make 3 threes this game 6. So after that tough blow, the game 5, he did come back to play and try doing stuff on both ends. So congratulations for him to winning another championship. I think Caldwell Pope, like we said, past couple of times, huge scoring threat. Definitely was not regarded as highly as he should have been. Coming in when they had him on this season, people thought like could have been a liability, or why are they picking him up? He had some stuff in his personal life that was a little questionable going on, but he was their third top scorer pretty much because Kuzma kind of took a back seat this season, especially coming off the bench. Even in the playoffs, didn't really produce anything, but KCP was always a solid scorer for them, even if it was that three. I knew him as a 3-point shooter, so he was hitting a lot of 3 balls, especially throughout this series. He was stepping up for tons of big plays. You saw in the first quarter first half, when they did have that huge lead and they were wanting to push this game away, he was making those big threes. Second half, he did falter, didn't really score, just 2 points after that, missed a lot more shots. But when they needed him to really get the blowout going, and that's how they won, it was off that first half, he was there for it. He came up big, and he surprised me because he did show a lot of aggression. Maybe it was because it was like younger guys, Robinson, Hero, not the best defenders, but they were driving hard, man. I didn't know KCP had that speed on him, that strength going to the basket. He had that tough end one floater. He had a lot of good plays. So I think that he stepped up well. A lot of guys that like played solid for them. Even Morris, he was a pickup right now at the end of the season, and people didn't think like he was going to do too much for them. But, he did have a solid role for them that he came on, put up decent minutes. He defended. He played late game. He scored, a decent amount of shots, and you gave him the ball. He was consistent as an all-around player, and I think that it was just a solid piece for them going into the bubble. And Caruso, he's not my favorite player. At one point, I did like him. He is a highlight machine, but he did play solid. This was his first start in the playoffs and the NBA Finals, obviously. I think the highlight here is his 5 assists. I think he does a really good job at playmaking. Them starting like this small ball, going Davis at the 5, which they hadn't really been doing, and Davis is not the most comfortable there, but it's a perfect match for Bam and their small ball. LeBron, he can be a dominant power forward, and Caruso did a good job of playmaking and LeBron's absence because he wanted LeBron to just score the ball. That's what I mean by absence there. He wasn't playing the point guard position. But Caruso, I think he's good at those driving kicks, or even when someone swings to him, he knows if it's a good shot for him or if he kicks it out to a better shooter. He's got good IQ, I think good vision. He set up a lot of plays. He set up LeBron a lot. And I think that was his contribution to being in that starting lineup. So good from him. And Rondo, obviously, off the bench. Playoff Rondo came out tonight, man. 19 points, 8 for 11 shooting. Started off perfect shooting in the first half. And just like the other guys, he's a veteran. He wants to win. He's not going to let the opportunity pass him. He stepped up huge, and he literally fulfilled that playoff Rondo name, because regular season he doesn't do too much, but then the playoffs he has huge performances like this. Tied Davis in scoring, so arguably second top scorer for this game, and he's the first ever player to win it with those two rival organizations, the Celtics and the Lakers. Another championship under his belt. Fantastic, I think, if you ask me. Dudley was going on and on about how smart Rondo is, and he can be very stubborn at times because he knows how high of a caliber player he was, especially in his prime on Boston. So he didn't really like taking that backseat role or being off the bench and stuff like that. But they told him, if you want to win a championship, if we want to get to where we need to be, you have to adapt to this play style, and he was all willing. And he's got such IQ for the game. I cannot stress that enough. Everyone knows that about him. He knew so much, and after Game 5, he said, we're going to start picking up Jimmy Butler full court. We're not going to let this guy get that 30 points again or playing 45, 47 minutes. This guy's going to play that well. Not going to happen. We're going to make him work for every bucket. And, a lot of their tactics were based off of watching film after the game. So the Lakers, they did a lot of hard work going into the playoffs in each series and then in the finals, studying the film, who's playing well, what are their tendencies, especially a guy like Rondo. That's his specialty, is breaking down stuff like that. So I think he was a huge, huge piece for them off the bench scoring-wise, off the bench playmaking, and his intelligence overall on and off the court, being able to set up his team to win this championship.
For sure, and I was gonna bring up the point that I do think it could be a repeat in next year's NBA Finals. Obviously, with the Heat gaining this valuable experience, with all their young players really emerging, Jimmy Butler obviously saying that he wants to. The job isn't done, and his job is obviously to bring Miami championship. And he made a promise with Pat Riley and Spoelstra, so he wants to deliver that. And the Lakers wanting to re-sign Davis and then adding Avery Bradley as well, which didn't play in the bubble.
Exactly,
and they will add him next season. So I think there could be a possibility if the Clippers don't find a big man. And I think if Milwaukee doesn't really help add any pieces to their roster, I think it could be a repeat with the same results. I think the Heat maybe pull it out, but I think it will be the same result with LeBron winning his 5th ring.
Well, we'll definitely see what happens. That's going to be interesting. I'm not really too sure what's going to happen here. We know there's a couple of guys looking to get re-signed. Other guys going into free agency. I think KCP is going into free agency. Rondo, I can't recall. I think he would like to come back. I'm not too sure. And then Davis, he's looking to opt out of the current contract, but then re-sign with the Lakers. I think it's a good place for Davis to stay. I don't know why he would leave anywhere else. Obviously, he won a championship. Like I always say, you should run it back. Cough, Kawhi Leonard.
That guy, my head.
Yeah. So he definitely could come here and run it back. They're a solid team. They did it, obviously, this year. They could definitely do it again. The Clippers, we all thought were going to be a stronger matchup and win that series, but they didn't even get there. So the Clippers got their own personal chemistry issues to work out before they get to here. Lakers, they could definitely make it, but next season's going to be interesting, man. You got to remember Golden State's coming back full health. Curry and Clay will be back with Draymond Green. Their draft pick, most likely, if they keep it, is going to be a star player. Wiggins coming back. They're going to have a solid team, and they're going to put in a good shot at another finals appearance. Plus, you got the stacked Clippers team that they have.
And the Raptors. If Siakam wakes up and comes out of his grave there.
I'm getting there. I'm just saying, the West alone, you have 3 superstar powerhouse, just stacked teams, Lakers, Clippers, G-State. That's already just insanity. Yeah. And then you obviously got the other teams who could surprise you once in a while, like the Denver Nuggets, obviously. And then the other teams, they put up great performances too. Utah played really well. Donovan Mitchell played well. Dallas, you have Luka and Doncic. And those teams, it depends, because I heard Dallas is in there talking, and also Miami too. They're trying to both heavily pursue Giannis. And Giannis to one of those teams, that addition would be astronomical and would definitely make them contenders. Because then the East, if Miami does that, they can definitely run it back sometime soon. Maybe not next year, the year after, whenever Giannis is there. But then on the East side of things, Raptors, if they step up, play well, obviously we are never to be doubted, even with not even the best team on paper. We still can do it. Boston has the grit. Bucks, I don't know if they can do it with just Giannis. I think they need to pick someone up. I heard even they might be trying for Paul George. And then you can't forget about the Brooklyn Nets coming back to full strength. They will be crazy. KD, Kyrie, plus the highlights that you saw this season with, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert doing it alone in the playoffs.
Dinwiddie, too.
Dinwiddie, star player. DeAndre Jordan, another solid piece. Yeah. Harris, a good shooter. They have tons of pieces there, too. So they're going to be a big force in the East as well, I think, scoring-wise. So, who knows really what's going to happen, but I'm excited. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
All right. One last thing before we go off. Everyone did acknowledge at the end of this game, LeBron did it. He put the post out recently. Davis and Rondo mentioned after the game. Rob Pelinka mentioned it. They did this one for Kobe, and they're hoping that Kobe's proud of them for achieving this. And, it was good that they did win for that case to honor the late Kobe Bryant. So, rest in peace, Kobe, and it's good for them.
For sure. And rest in peace, Kobe. And 2 plus 4, what does that equal, Gabe?
2 plus 4, that equals 6, buddy.
Yep. And that's Kobe Bryant's number. 6 games, 2-4, 2 plus 4 equals 6. So maybe with it was a sign.
Oh, okay, I see you. All right, that's it. We hope you all enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on Instagram at Rapzville for NBA news, Raptors content, that type of stuff. And yeah, that's us signing out. Peace.